Have you ever wondered why certain people leave you feeling disturbed in ways you cannot name? Why some conversations drain your very essence, leaving you questioning not just their words, but the nature of your own spirit? The ancient master Confucius understood something profound about human nature that we have forgotten in our pursuit of superficial harmony. He taught that not all who appear virtuous truly possess virtue, and not all who speak of benevolence carry benevolence in their hearts. In the halls of ancient courts and within the walls of family compounds, the wise have always known that malevolent spirits can inhabit those closest to us. These are not ghosts or supernatural beings, but living souls whose hearts have become so corrupted by selfishness, envy, and moral decay that they emanate darkness like a diseased tree spreads poison through its roots. Today, we shall explore how to recognize these hidden adversaries who masquerade as friends, relatives, and trusted companions. Confucius said that the superior person examines themselves daily, while the inferior person examines others constantly. Yet this wisdom does not mean we should be blind to the character of those around us. Indeed, the cultivation of wisdom requires that we learn to distinguish between those who walk in righteousness and those who have surrendered to their basest impulses. For when we fail to recognize the corrupt among us, we endanger not only our own moral development, but the harmony of our entire household. The first sign of a corrupted spirit dwelling within someone close to you reveals itself through the peculiar way your own vital energy diminishes in their presence. You may enter a room feeling centered and peaceful, your spirit aligned with the natural order. Yet, after spending time with this person, you find yourself inexplicably weary. Your thoughts scatter like leaves in an autumn wind, and a heaviness settles upon your heart that you cannot explain through reason alone. This is not mere coincidence or the result of ordinary human interaction. When Confucius spoke of the power of virtue to transform those around us, he also acknowledged that vice possesses its own terrible influence. A person whose heart has become a dwelling place for selfishness, resentment, and moral chaos radiates this disorder outward, disrupting the spiritual equilibrium of everyone they encounter. They consume the peace of others without offering anything in return, like a drought that draws all moisture from the earth while giving back only barrenness. These individuals appear to thrive on the energy and attention of others, yet they offer no genuine nourishment to the relationships they claim to value. Every conversation becomes about their struggles, their needs, their endless demands for sympathy and support. They speak at length about their troubles, but show no interest in your wisdom, your growth, or your well-being. This is not the natural give and take that characterizes virtuous friendship, where both parties seek to elevate each other toward greater moral understanding. The corrupted spirit within them transforms every interaction into an opportunity for spiritual theft. They draw from your reservoir of peace and leave you to carry the burden of their inner turmoil. After such encounters, you may find yourself feeling anxious about matters that previously brought you contentment, or doubting decisions that once seemed guided by clear moral principle. This confusion is not accidental, but the natural result of exposing your ordered mind to their disordered one. Confucius taught that we become like those with whom we associate most closely. If you consistently find yourself feeling depleted, scattered, or morally uncertain after spending time with certain individuals, your spirit is warning you that their influence threatens your own cultivation of virtue. The wise person heeds these warnings and takes steps to protect their inner harmony, for without it, they cannot serve their family, their community, or the greater good. The second manifestation of hidden malevolence appears in their peculiar talent for sowing discord among others through the careful manipulation of truth. These individuals rarely lie outright, for bold falsehood is easily detected by those who possess discernment. Instead, they practice a more subtle form of deception, weaving half-truths and carefully chosen silences into conversations that leave others feeling suspicious and divided. They present themselves as loyal confidants, claiming to share information out of concern for your welfare or love for harmony within the family or community. Yet their words consistently create the opposite effect, turning friend against friend, child against parent, student against teacher. They whisper doubts about the motives of good people while presenting themselves as the sole voice of truth and reason in a world full of deception. Watch carefully how they speak of others when those people are not present. Do they consistently find fault with those who demonstrate genuine virtue? Do they question the sincerity of acts of kindness or generosity? Do they suggest hidden selfish motives behind every good deed? This pattern reveals a spirit that cannot tolerate the light of genuine goodness because it exposes their own moral poverty. The corrupt individual understands that if they can isolate you from those who support your growth in wisdom and virtue, they gain greater influence over your thoughts and decisions. They work patiently to erode your trust in relationships that nurture your better nature, replacing solid friendships built on mutual respect with their own twisted version of loyalty that demands you depend solely on them for guidance and companionship. This strategy serves their deeper purpose of maintaining control over your spiritual development. As long as you remain connected to virtuous influences, you will continue growing in wisdom and moral strength, eventually outgrowing their ability to manipulate your thoughts and emotions. But if they can successfully separate you from these positive influences, they can keep you in a state of confusion and dependence that serves their selfish needs. Confucius warned that small people seek to divide, while great people seek to unite. Those whose hearts have become corrupted by malevolent spirits invariably work toward division, chaos, and suspicion. Even as they claim to desire peace and harmony, their presence in any group gradually destroys the bonds of trust and mutual respect that allow communities to flourish. The third sign reveals itself in their response to your moments of weakness versus your times of strength and growth. Observe carefully how they react when misfortune befalls you, when you struggle with difficult decisions, or when you face challenges that test your character and resolve. A person whose spirit has been corrupted by malevolent forces will often appear most present and engaged when you are struggling, when your resolve wavers, when doubt clouds your judgment. They seem to draw satisfaction from witnessing your confusion and pain, not because they wish to help you find clarity, but because your weakness affirms their own sense of superiority and control. When tears fall from your eyes, they do not rush to offer the comfort that a virtuous friend would provide. Instead, they observe with a peculiar detachment, sometimes even offering advice that deepens your despair rather than pointing you toward the path of wisdom. They may disguise their cruel satisfaction as tough honesty or necessary truth, but the wise person recognizes that genuine concern seeks to lift the fallen, not to stand above them in judgment. Yet watch what happens when fortune smiles upon you, when your character grows stronger through the trials you have endured, when you begin to walk more confidently in the way of virtue. The same person who seemed so engaged with your struggles suddenly grows distant and cold. Your progress threatens the foundation of their relationship with you, which was built upon your need for their guidance and their ability to feel superior to your circumstances. They may attempt to diminish your achievements with subtle remarks that question your motives or suggest that your success is temporary or undeserved. They speak of how you have changed, not with the pride that a true friend would feel, but with resentment that you no longer require their particular form of companionship. Your growth exposes the emptiness of their own spiritual development, and rather than using this as motivation for their own cultivation, they seek to drag you back to the level where they feel comfortable. Confucius taught that the virtuous person rejoices in the good fortune of others as if it were their own, while the small person cannot bear to see others rise above their own position. Those whose hearts harbour malevolent spirits reveal themselves most clearly in these moments of contrast. They celebrate your valleys and resent your peaks, for your elevation reminds them of their own failure to climb. The fourth sign manifests in their complete disregard for the boundaries you establish to protect your peace and maintain proper relationships. When you attempt to create appropriate distance or limit their access to your time and energy, they respond not with understanding, but with persistent intrusion that shows no respect for your expressed wishes. These individuals believe that the normal rules of propriety and respect do not apply to their relationship with you. They interpret your attempts to maintain healthy boundaries as personal rejection rather than necessary self-preservation. When you say you need solitude for reflection or study, they find ways to interrupt your peace. When you express that certain topics of conversation disturb your inner harmony, they continue to raise these subjects as if your comfort means nothing to them. This behavior reveals a spirit that recognizes no authority higher than its own desires. Just as a corrupt official believes the laws apply to everyone except himself, these individuals believe that your right to establish limits on their behavior is somehow invalid when it conflicts with what they want from you. They use emotional manipulation to make you feel guilty for protecting yourself, suggesting that your boundaries prove you do not truly care for them. But Confucius taught that proper relationships require mutual respect for each person's dignity and autonomy. When someone consistently violates the limits you have established for your own well-being, they demonstrate that they value their access to you more than your peace of mind. This is not the behavior of someone who wishes you well, but of someone who sees you primarily as a source of something they need, rather than as a whole person deserving of consideration. The corrupted spirit within them cannot tolerate any obstacle to its ability to draw from your energy and attention. They will test your resolve repeatedly, hoping to wear down your resistance until you abandon your boundaries entirely. Each time you allow them to cross a line you have drawn, they interpret this as permission to push further until you find yourself with no protection left at all. The fifth manifestation appears in their unsettling ability to mirror your authentic self while simultaneously working to undermine your reputation and relationships with others. They study your manner of speech, your values, your interests, and your unique qualities with the intensity of a scholar memorizing ancient texts. Yet their purpose is not admiration, but appropriation. They begin to adopt your expressions, your perspectives, and even your personal stories, presenting these borrowed elements as if they originated within their own experience and wisdom. At first, this imitation may seem flattering, a sign that your influence has inspired them toward better things. But gradually, you realize that they are not seeking to become more like you through their own genuine development, but rather to become you in the eyes of others. While they wear the costume of your identity, they simultaneously plant seeds of doubt about your character in the minds of mutual acquaintances. They speak of inconsistencies in your behavior or question your sincerity, all while presenting themselves as a more reliable version of the very qualities they have stolen from you. This creates a deeply disturbing situation where others begin to see you as a pale imitation of someone who is actually imitating you. This behavior reveals a spirit so bankrupt of its own virtue that it must steal the fruits of another's cultivation rather than tend its own garden. They envy not just your accomplishments but your very essence, and lacking the discipline to develop their own authentic character, they attempt to possess yours through theft and deception. Confucius emphasized that the superior person seeks to be genuine in all things, while the inferior person is concerned only with appearances. Those who engage in this form of spiritual theft have abandoned any pretense of genuine self-cultivation in favor of the easier path of mimicry and manipulation. They present a false version of virtue to the world while working to destroy the reputation of the person from whom they have stolen their borrowed goodness. The sixth sign emerges through their masterful use of guilt as a weapon to maintain control over your choices and loyalty. Rather than earning your continued friendship through virtuous behavior and mutual benefit, they rely on emotional manipulation that makes you feel obligated to remain connected to them, regardless of how the relationship affects your well-being. They remind you constantly of every favor they have ever performed, every sacrifice they claim to have made on your behalf, every moment when they provided comfort during your times of need. Yet they never mention these acts of service with gratitude for the opportunity to practice virtue, but rather as debts that you can never fully repay. When you begin to distance yourself from their influence, when wisdom guides you to seek healthier associations, when your spirit demands protection from their draining presence, they do not examine their own conduct to understand why you might need space. Instead, they invoke the memory of past kindnesses as chains to bind you to continued obligation. After all I have done for you, they say, how can you abandon me now? These words are designed to strike at your sense of filial duty and loyal friendship, virtues that Confucius taught are essential to a well-ordered life. Yet they twist these noble qualities into instruments of bondage, making you feel that gratitude requires you to sacrifice your own moral development for their comfort. True benevolence, as the Master taught, seeks no reward beyond the satisfaction of acting in accordance with virtue. When someone repeatedly reminds you of their good deeds toward you, they reveal that their actions were not motivated by genuine care, but by the desire to create lasting indebtedness. They view their past kindnesses not as expressions of virtue, but as investments that should yield perpetual returns in the form of your compliance and availability. The wise person, having learned to recognize these signs, must act with both compassion and firmness. Confucius taught us that protecting virtue within ourselves enables us to serve others more fully. Distance yourself from those whose spirits have turned toward darkness, not in hatred, but in wisdom. Guard your heart as carefully as a farmer protects his seed from weeds, for only when your own character remains untainted can you truly help others find their way back to righteousness and harmony.